In the year of 2016, Hendersonville, Tennessee would be hit with a tragedy. 11-year-old Timea Batts would lose her life and managed to bring the town to its knees. And while the town was in pain, the case would be shrouded in mystery, only adding further insult to injury. This isn't a case of who done it or why. The case is solved. But although the case is solved, the mystery will forever remain. July 2nd, 2005. The world would make way for Timea Batts. She would be brought into this world by her mother, Sade Harris, and her father, Timothy Batts. During the early stages of her life, things didn't work out between Tamea's parents. In fact, things got real rocky. They even ended up in court, having a custody battle, in which the father would win and be rewarded with full custody of Tamia. By midsummer of 2016, Tamia is now 11 years old. She has grown into someone who is loving, caring, but she was also energetic. She was someone who enjoyed dancing, doing cheerleading, singing, and fashion. And when she wasn't busy with that, she enjoyed making social media videos.
Hey YouTube, so today I'm going to be doing a makeup tutorial, what I have always wanted to do, but I just never got in the spirit of doing it. So let's get started. First, I got these kind of brushes. And the color I'm going to use today, kind of match my outfit, is this kind of pink right here. So this color. I don't wear makeup every day, but I love to wear mascara. Well, bye YouTube. Hope you love my video and see you maybe next week or in a couple of days. Bye-bye.
Life for Tamia by age 11 seemed great. By others' testimony, she had a loving father, she was close with her siblings, and with her beautiful personality, it was easy for her to make friends. Having this trait was very important around this time because she was starting at a new school, Nas Docks Middle School, where she would be in the 6th grade. Making the transition between elementary to middle school was very exciting for her. She even laid out her school clothes early the night prior. In the early morning hours of August 8th of 2016, she would get out of bed and prepare herself for school. This is a photo of Tamia on that morning, showcasing her first day outfit, brandishing a smile. Shortly after this photo was taken, she would head off to school. When school let out for the day, she would hop on the bus and head home. But shortly after entering her home, she would be struck by gunfire and immediately rushed to the hospital. Upon arrival, they would notice that she was suffering from one gunshot wound to the chest area. She would be taken to the ICU where they would work vigorously to save her life. But 2 hours into her fight, she would succumb to her injury and she would be pronounced deceased at the hospital. While at the hospital, Tamia's father would be questioned about what happened. While being questioned, he would tell the authorities that she was injured shortly after getting off of the bus, and he didn't know who did it, nor did he see exactly what happened. With no real suspects and no real information to point to a culprit, the authorities would do the only thing they could do, and that would be to reach out to the media, who after getting wind of this story would immediately begin airing it.
Yeah, Vicki and Carrie, this is an absolutely tragic afternoon for the family that lives in the corner home here on Shady View Drive. You can see there's a police officer outside and crime tape up. This is not exactly how they expected the start of school to go. Hendersonville police tell us that the 11-year-old died at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. She was flown there this afternoon after police say she got off the school bus and told her dad she'd been shot. Police tell us the bus driver says there was not a shooting on the bus, no incident. Detectives tell us they believe the child may have been shot somewhere between getting off the bus and walking home, which is only a few feet apart. A short time ago, we spoke with neighbors who say they are shocked by the violence in such a quiet neighborhood.
Why would anybody shoot an 11-year-old? I seen it on the news. Just shoot her? She couldn't have been involved in that because she's too young.
At this time, police tell us that they have not even gone inside the home. You can see that they've got the crime scene up. The crime detectives have just arrived, and it looks like it's going to be a very long night. We are told that the crime scene actually could extend beyond the home. They're just not sure. They're still piecing together the clues. As for a suspect, that remains the big question. Police tell us they don't have a suspect. They don't know who they're looking for. So there are so many things to still piece together, and it's going to be a very long night. Right now, we are live in Hendersonville. Julia Bruck, News Channel 5.
Police had initially talked to the father shortly after arriving to the hospital. But now that this is a full-on homicide investigation, things need to be looked at just a little bit deeper. Timea Batts would be called in for another interview at headquarters. And during this interview, he would give a second version of events. And in this version, he's the culprit. He says that this was a complete accident, and he had mistaken his daughter for an intruder.
I wasn't expecting you to show up here. This is a surprise for me. I appreciate you coming in. You were not under arrest at this time. You came in on your own. And I will tell you that I know me and a couple of partners of mine have been looking into what happened, and we know a good bit about it. But my partner came and told me a second ago that you were here to talk. I was happy to hear that because I really want to hear your side of the story on this.
I don't want to be under arrest. It's my daughter. That's my baby. That's my world. I love her to death. And like, it was a total accident.
Crazy things.
And like, I got cameras in the house that you can go back by the cameras and see that it was an accident. Okay. I'm in the house. I'm laying down, getting me some rest before they come home from school because I know everybody's going to come home.
And let me stop you 1 second. I appreciate that. We're aware of the cameras. Obviously, we saw the cameras in the house, and we've already worked with ADT to get that. So, and you're telling me that, which, you know, you can lend more credence to make me think that you're telling me the truth. So,
I want y'all to know. I'm going to tell you when I come.
I was going to tell you that same thing because obviously, we're going to look at the video, and that's going to clear up exactly what happened. And you brought it up, so I didn't even have to bring it up, so that's really great. But I just want to remind you to make sure that what you tell me is going to line up with what that video shows. That's an important thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I came home, so I'm trying to go later and give me a little rest real quick before they get home. And so then I want to run the time that she get home from school. So I'm in there, laying across my bed about to doze off, and as I'm dozing off, I hear her. So, you know, and then I hear a shot or something like, who in my house? You know, and I get scared. So I ran up and I had grabbed the gun. And so as I'm creeping around the corner, I'm creeping, thinking that somebody breaking in my house. My daughter jumped out, ah! And it was like, it all happened that quick, and I was like, oh, this so, man.
How many shots did you fire?
Just one shot. Just one shot, and it was like when I seen that it was her, I was so hurried. I'm like, she's like, damn, you're alive.
She's your daughter, right?
My daughter, man, and I'm telling you, I've been through so much, man. I don't went to court, got custody of my kids, man. Everything, man.
I'll tell you, when I first got out there and was kind of told about what was going on, and I found out she was your daughter, I didn't think for a second that you meant to shoot her.
I did.
You know, it takes a pretty cold-hearted person to want to kill their own child.
It's
a very rare thing.
That's what I do. I live for them, to protect them, and make sure they straight. That's my baby. That's my firstborn, man.
Did you think that you just thought that someone was breaking into the house?
Someone was breaking in the house because she at school. To my knowledge, she at school. So that's my whole point of getting home. I know she wouldn't. I'm thinking she wouldn't get home till around 3 or 3:30.
When you let me go back for a second. When you heard the noise, What were you doing?
I was laying in the bed, dozing off.
In my master bedroom?
In the master bedroom downstairs. I'm laying in the bed, eyes closed, trying to get me some sleep real quick. And I hear, you know, you could hear somebody run across it. And I'm thinking, like, shit, nobody be in here.
Like somebody's walking across the
Yeah,
floor?
like somebody, and then I seen a shadow. So I'm like, who is that? Nobody say nothing. So then that's when I went over there, grabbed it, and then as I'm creeping, somebody just jumped out. And then she was like, boom. Cause like,
Now, let me ask you this. When that part happened, she jumped out and said boom or whatever, where was she at and where were you at?
I was coming from my room, and she was probably had been hiding on the side of the wall by the living room, and it was a jump out in front of me thing.
Do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
I can sit here and talk to you all day. Would you mind writing me a statement of what happened?
Okay.
After admitting guilt, he would ask the authorities to let him remain free long enough to bury his daughter. But this request would be denied because during this investigation, they would come to find that he was a convicted felon. So brandishing a firearm, even for protection, is strictly forbidden. But being charged as a felon in possession of a firearm wouldn't be the only charge. He was also charged with tampering with evidence as well as reckless homicide, a charge that in the prosecution's eyes makes him liable, even if it's an accident. When the interrogation concluded, he would be shipped off to the local jail, held on $1 million bond, a bond so high that the average man can't afford it. With Timothy being held on bail, the community would begin to support him, even starting a GoFundMe page to help lower his bond. The prosecutors described showing up to court and being shocked because there were hundreds of people there in support of Timothy Batts, who all believed that this was a mere accident and he didn't belong behind bars. The community outreach would prove to be beneficial because Timothy would have his bond lowered from $1 million to $500,000.
Cheers erupted at the Sumner County Courthouse as Timothy Batts was led out of the courtroom. These chants come after Judge James Hunter cut his bond from $1 million to $500,000.
I don't think anybody is claiming that Mr. Batts intended to shoot his daughter.
Tamia Batts was just 11 years old. It was her first day of 6th grade in Hendersonville Monday when her father says he accidentally shot and killed her. In a court packed with the defendant's family and friends, a detective said his bond should not be reduced because of new information they obtained.
We were able to recover some video from ADT. The video shows that 5 minutes before Timea arrived home from school, Mr. Batts was walking through his home on the phone and with a gun in his hand at that time.
At that point, people began crying. When they left the courtroom, they told me why.
It was heartfelt. Even myself back there, I was crying because I have kids myself, so you know it's just tragic to me. I mean, words can't explain. I don't know, but it's tragic. I'm just glad he's coming home. I'm just glad.
Between his family support and the GoFundMe established for him, he was able to make his bond and become a free man. He was even able to attend his daughter's funeral. But freedom for Timothy Batts would be short-lived.
According to police, Timothy Batts failed his first drug test just 2 to 3 days after he initially bonded out of jail. Judge James Hunter says the failed tests violated their bond agreement, so he revoked it. Also happening in the courtroom, new details in the investigation were released by officers who took to the stand. Detective Neil Harris with the Hendersonville Police Department explained there was a bullet hole in the wall and blood in the master bedroom. He obtained the in-home security video, and he says there are 4 clips. In one of them, police say you can see 11-year-old Timea Batts jumping up and down as if she had been shot. Her father then scoops her up and runs out the front door with her. While Detective Neil Harris was testifying about the video, Batts was moving back and forth in his chair.
It appears that Mr. Batts arrives home. He comes inside, he's talking on his cell phone, and he has a gun in his hand at that time. He walks in the direction of the master bedroom, and 5 minutes later, there's a video that shows Tamia coming home from school. She walks in, appears to be perfectly fine at that time.
After his bond was revoked, Timothy Batts' aunt and father, they didn't want to comment. He's expected to be back in court in October. Reporting from Sumner County, Alexander Cohen, News Channel 5.
My thoughts have never been clearer.
Tonight's shock turns to mourning as dozens gather to remember a Hendersonville sixth grader.
Hey YouTube, I am about to make a video of my room tutorial. So let's get started.
Timea Batts was killed right after she got home from her very first day of school. Her father says he accidentally pulled the trigger. News Channel 5's Julia Brunk is live where that vigil was held tonight. And Julia, this is just a heartbreaking situation.
And tonight there's a makeshift memorial to remember her. It's full of balloons, flowers, and teddy bears. All a painful reminder that Timea Batts is no longer with this Hendersonville community.
Exactly 1 year after the incident occurred, on July 17th of 2017, his trial would begin, where he would plead not guilty on all charges. But the prosecution team thought otherwise, and they were determined to get a conviction. At the end of his trial, they would have their closing arguments. The prosecution would get up one more time to tell their side of the story. They would be followed up by the defense team, who would also lay out their argument.
The defendant, Timothy Batts, fired without looking. That's why all of us are here today, and Timea Batts is not. May it please the court, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at the beginning of this case, District Attorney General Ray Whitley told you that this was a case of reckless homicide. And that is what we have proven. So what do we know? We know that on August the 8th of 2016, Timea Batts came home from her first day of middle school. We know that she walked through her kitchen, took off her shoes and her backpack, set them down. She walked through the dining room and into the living room, towards her father's bedroom, where she was shot. He knew his children were coming home. He knew all four of his children were coming home. That is why he was there. 2:44 p.m. Tamia comes in at 2:49. He thinks she's coming in around 3. It's a 10-minute difference. Does that make it an accident? Or does that suggest that he disregarded a risk? You saw the video. You heard his testimony. You have a copy of the conviction. There's no doubt. I submit to you that the state has proven beyond a reasonable doubt every element of these crimes. And I ask that you return the verdict that justice demands. Guilty on all counts as charged. Thank you.
Thank you. When I sit down, the state will get to get up again. They'll get to speak with you one more time, but I will not. So if you hear something and you don't see me get up and say something, that's because I can't get up anymore. This is it for me. I believe that this case is really a case where the state overcharged. I think they overcharged on this one. He is now facing 3 charges. I know originally was 4, but it's 3 now. He's facing 3 charges. He's facing the reckless homicide, he's facing the tampering with evidence, and he's facing the felon in possession of a handgun. I'm not going to come to you and make any type of argument about the felon in possession of handgun. It is what it is. It is what it is, and I have nothing to say about it. I'm moving on. Because I think in the remaining 2 counts that the law is on his side. I believe the law is really on his side in those. The law that is to punish the guilty and protect the innocent, I believe it's on his side. He did what he should have. He did what he should have. And when it was all over, when they say, I'm sorry, we've done all we can do, Mr. Batts, Sade, he had to get himself together. He had to go face 3 other little children and explain the best he could, Daddy made a big mistake. Made a big mistake today. Made a big mistake. He had to do it. Everything he did, because it was like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. He was going 100 miles per hour. He couldn't stop. She's shot. I got to get to the hospital. Here's the police officer. He's asking this, he's asking that. And he's not making up some big dramatic lie. He's just saying, hey, she was shot. And I don't know when she was shot. It was before she came home. He's not giving suspect information. He's trying to get them off his back. He's trying to be there for his daughter while she's breathing. While she's breathing. Rushing. May I get in the airplane with you? No, I can't. You can't, sir. You're going to have to drive. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. But as soon as she passes, he starts coming down a little bit. He calms down some. I got to talk to my children. Got to talk to my family. And then they all get together. We got to go to the police department. And he knows in his mind, he told you, he knows in his mind, I may be going to jail. And you learn he did. I may be going to jail. I may not see my child buried. I may not. He has all of that on his mind. But now he knows I got to let these people know. Because she's gone now. She's gone. She's gone. He'll remember August 8, 2016. He'll remember that. I ask you to do what's just. I ask you to do what's right. Let me tell you this. This seat he sits in is a slippery seat. It's a slippery seat. Anybody can wind up there. Anybody can wind up there. But Timothy has paid. He will pay. I ask you to follow the law. I ask you to follow the law and return a not guilty on both. I ask you to return a not guilty on both. This man is no animal. He's no thug, like they try to portray him to be. He is a human being with 4 little children, 1 that died, 3 little children now. He is a man that's been beat up on enough. He is a man that's taken 6 shots in the back and in the back of his head. He's been beat up on enough. I ask that you find him not guilty. Forgive me, I get a little passionate. Please don't hold anything I do or say against him, but I just ask that you find him not guilty. I ask that you follow the law, and that you find Timothy Batts not guilty. Thank you.
The case is now in the hands of the jury, and they have to deliberate. They have to decide whether this was an accident or pure negligence. The jury would deliberate for exactly 9 hours before returning to the courtroom. Afterwards, they would return a not guilty verdict on the tampering of evidence. As for being a felon in possession of a firearm, they would return a guilty verdict. But when it came to the reckless homicide, the jury was deadlocked. But get this, they were held out by one juror. One juror didn't believe that he should do time behind what happened to his daughter. Everyone else was unanimous that he was guilty. The charge he was facing wasn't saying he did it on purpose, but rather his negligence caused the action. And in this case, it was the loss of his daughter. Instead of trying the case again in court, Timothy Batts would be approached with a plea deal. They told him that if he pleaded guilty to reckless homicide, they would run his sentence concurrent with his charges for possessing a firearm. Timothy would in fact decide to take this plea deal, where he would receive 3 to 5 years with credit for time served. The year is now 2024. Her father, Timothy, has done his time, and he's a free man. People are still split down the middle on how they feel. A lot of people feel like he didn't do enough time, while some people believe he's already received the harshest penalty he can get, and that's the loss of his first child. What do you think about this case? Do you think he deserved more time? Or has he suffered enough? What happened to 11-year-old Timea Batts is completely tragic. I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that the father set out to harm his daughter on that day. I do believe it was an accident. In this case, I do feel like he did enough time, because at the end of the day, he was sentenced to a life sentence of forever feeling guilt, a life sentence of pain. It doesn't get any worse than that. Rest in peace, Timea Batts. Thank you for being a light for others.